Small changes, they're very easy to dismiss on a daily basis, but they compound over time. And two, that we do not rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. And so I'm very focused on how to build better systems, whether that be a system for working out in the gym, or a system for writing and producing or creating work, a system for meditating and reducing stress, a system for eating healthy and getting more done and being more productive. It doesn't matter really where you focus, but the results that you have right now in your life, whatever your current system is, it's perfectly designed to deliver your current results. And so if you want different results, you need to design a different process or a different system.
Anyone here ever experiment with rats before? Anyone ever ride the subway? Okay, then you've done a lot of experiments with rats. There's a woman named Dr. Anne Graybiel who has for years been doing experiments with rats. She's a neurologist, and for years she was trying to get sensors into rats' cranium so she could measure what was going on inside their skulls. This took a long time and a lot of rats. But eventually she got to a point where she could get about 150 sensors inside a rat's skull, and she could measure its neurological activity. What she'd do with each rat after it woke up from the surgery was the exact same thing. She would drop it in the world's simplest maze. Works the same way every single time. Click, a partition would move, the rat's free to run through the maze and find the chocolate. Every rat, when you drop it in the maze the first time, acts like the world's laziest animal. It'll like wander up and down, it'll get to the end, it'll see the chocolate, it'll go the other direction. It takes on average about 13 minutes for it to find the chocolate. And for years, people thought that this is because rats are unusually dumb, and that if a rat can learn something, then any animal could learn it. But Dr. Graybiel could actually see inside the rat's head, and what she saw was kind of fascinating. This is a simplified neurological graph the first time a rat's dropped in this maze. There's all these spikes in activity, right? Basically, the rat would like scratch the walls and the scratching centers of its brain would light up, or it'd find the chocolate and the pleasure centers would light up. This is what unmediated learning looks like. So Dr. Graybiel takes this rat, she drops each of them in the maze again and again, 150 times each. Over time, unsurprisingly, the rat learns how to run through the maze faster and faster and faster, find the chocolate. But what's really interesting is what happens inside its head. As the rat learns to run faster and faster, as finding the chocolate becomes more of an automatic habit, the rat starts thinking less and less and less. This graph on the bottom is a simplified neurological graph of the 150th iteration through that maze. What you'll notice is this deep valley there, right? That's the same valley you would see if the rat went to sleep. Now, all of us have habits, right? There's a researcher named Wendy Wood who followed around a couple thousand people to see how much of our daily behaviors are habits. And what she found is about 40 to 45% of the decisions we make actually every day aren't actually decisions, they're habits. And if somehow I could get 150 sensors into your head, this is exactly what I would see. Your mental activity dropping off in the middle of that habit. When you remember waking up in the morning and walking in the subway and now you're at your desk, but you don't remember what happened in the middle. Or when you decided that morning to have a salad, but you get to lunch and you order a hamburger just like you did yesterday. This is what's happening. Your brain is kind of turning off.
I was a very goal-oriented person for a long time. I think that's kind of like my default mode. So I would set goals for the grades I wanted in school, or the weights I wanted to lift in the gym, or how much money I wanted to make in my business. And eventually I came to this realization that like, oh, some of these things I've accomplished, but a lot of them I failed on, but I had a goal for all of them. So clearly having the goal couldn't be the thing that led to success. In many areas, winners and losers have the same goals. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Right. Every author wants to write a best-selling book. Like every candidate who applies for the job wants to get it. So they all have the same goal. So what's the thing that actually determines the difference in the performance? And it's the process and the system. And that doesn't mean goals are like totally useless. I think they're good for setting direction or figuring out like where do you want to focus? But as soon as you've done that, you pretty much need to put the goal on the shelf and just focus on the daily process and the system associated with it.
There's kind of three elements to the goal, right? So you have the external result that you're looking for, which might be make more money, get a six-pack, whatever. You've got the processes, behaviors, activity that result in that goal, right, being achieved, which would be like doing the work. The third aspect is being the type of person who does those things. So basically identifying with those types of behaviors or being the type of person who does those types of activities, which then creates the reward. If we know the activities that are going to generate the result we want, so maybe it's we want to get more customers, which means we need to advertise more. And I use advertise by the definition of what the word actually means, which is to make known. And so if we do activities that make our products and services known, like doing more private communications, which would be one-on-one reach outs, one-on-one cold calls, one-on-one DMs, one-on-one emails, etc., prospecting, or one-to-many, so public communication, which would be broadcasting across different platforms for media, right? So you have radio, you could have an email list, you could have Actually, that would be an example of a high version of scale of the original. So I apologize there. But like making posts on social media, things that are public forum where people can find out about it, right? If you do more of those things, more people will find out. And that would be the activity that's associated with getting more customers, right? But the thing is that people will know what that activity is, right? They will know that inherently they should be doing more of it, and yet they don't.
One of the reasons that I chose the phrase atomic habits for the title of the book, the word atomic kind of has multiple meanings. So one meaning is tiny or small. So, and I do believe that we should be focused on making small changes each day rather than getting wrapped up in like whatever this earth-shattering change would be or this transformation that you're hoping for. But another meaning of the word atomic is the smallest fundamental unit of a larger system. So like atoms build into molecules, molecules build into compounds, and so on. So there's sort of this like cumulative building effect. And that same thing is true for building better habits and creating a better system. So like if people want to get in shape, for example, a lot of the time they'll do something like build one new habit. Like, okay, I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water a day, or I'm going to go for, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps or something like that. And they'll stick to that one habit for a week or a month or whatever it is, but then they don't see any like measurable change in their body or how they look in the mirror or whatever, and they get upset or get depressed and decide to give up. But it's not a single 1% change that is going to be transformative. It's like 1,000 of them. And so the same way that atoms build into molecules and bigger compounds, habits are sort of like the atoms of our life. They're like the fundamental behaviors and rituals that we do each day. And what you need is to collect a bunch of them, to put them together like atoms in a molecule that are all organized towards the same outcome. So you're making 10 or 15 small 1% changes related to your health, not just one thing like walking for 10,000 steps.
Right.
And as you accumulate those, then you start to see the results over time. That's how tiny changes compound into remarkable results, is when they add up like that. The way that I think about habits and systems working together is that your system is made up of a collection of habits. And so you're just looking to build a variety of 1% improvements and small habits that are all organized towards the same fundamental goal.
I wanted to give you the simplest single hack that I have used inadvertently and seen a tremendous amount of success. That is asking myself the question, what would a person who does this type of thing do in this instance? The one that I'll tell you that I've repeated a lot to myself over the years, probably over the last 5 or 10 years, has been the repeated chorus of, what would a wise man do? I think it's because I did not consider myself to be very wise, and I acted many ways that were unwise earlier on in my life, and I still continue to do so, but I try to do less of it. Your identity is much more of a weighing system. Actually, this is not from his book, but it's much more of a voting system where you cast votes in either direction based on your activities of what type of person you want to become. And I think the simplest distillation of that concept is simply asking the question, what would this type of person do? If you can use that as the refrain that you come back to over and over again, the chorus of your day that gets repeated over and over again, I think it's much easier than trying to remember the 50-point checklist of all the activities that you need to do to achieve the goal.